Royal love on. A moment that seemed impossible. A gesture so public, so daring, that it shocked not just Spain or Denmark, but the entire nation of France. A country that has watched royalty with suspicion, admiration, and curiosity for centuries suddenly stood still, eyes glued to Leonor of Spain and Christian of Denmark. We all expected diplomacy, the classic poised appearances, the handshakes, the smiles, the rehearsed gestures. But what unfolded before the cameras was something else entirely. Something no one prepared for. A gesture that broke protocol. A gesture that whispered one thing loudly: love. And yet, here is the contradiction. Royals are taught from birth that love is private. Emotions are to be hidden, managed, controlled. Their lives are scripted, down to how they walk and breathe before their people. But on this day, in the heart of France, the future Queen of Spain and the future King of Denmark decided to write their own script. And the world couldn't look away. The question is simple: why here? Why now? And why in France? To answer this, we must go back to the beginning. Princess Leonor, born into the Spanish royal family, was never expected to live a normal life. Her childhood was marked by lessons in duty, tradition, and the heavy silence of expectation. She was not just the daughter of King Felipe VI, she was the heir. Every step she took was weighed, measured, analyzed. Across the sea in Denmark, Prince Christian lived a life that, while royal, appeared freer. Denmark's monarchy is smaller, more intimate, and its traditions less rigid. He grew up surrounded by laughter, family gatherings, and a sense that his destiny, while heavy, allowed space for individuality. And yet, even Christian could not escape the reality of being born into duty. When the two paths crossed, many dismissed it as coincidence. Royals meet each other all the time. It is normal. But those close enough to observe saw something different in the way Leonor looked at Christian, and in the way Christian stood a little taller when she entered the room. But how did it grow into love bold enough to break centuries of royal tradition on French soil? Let us unravel it piece by piece. France is not neutral territory. For centuries, it has been both stage and battlefield for monarchies across Europe. It is the place where kings were crowned and guillotines fell. For Leonor and Christian, to show a gesture of love in Paris is to place their bond not just before their families, but before history itself. And here comes the shock. Before an audience of diplomats, politicians, and members of Europe's elite, Christian reached for Leonor's hand. Not discreetly, not fleetingly, but openly, firmly, as if to declare, this is not just Spain's princess or Denmark's prince. This is my partner, my choice, my future. Gasps followed. Cameras clicked like a storm. And the French press, famous for their sharp tongues and unforgiving headlines, lit up within minutes. Unjust royal, unscandale ou unzamboli. They wrote. A royal gesture, a scandal, or a symbol. But why did it matter so much? Because in that single moment, they broke the unspoken law of royal engagements: no unscripted affection in public. A hug might be excused, a polite kiss on the cheek tolerated. But this was rebellion dressed as tenderness. And yet, the rebellion was not without meaning. To the younger generations watching, it was proof that royalty can be human. That beneath the crowns and the ceremonies are two young people who dare to love openly, even when every tradition warns against it. But behind the curtain, how did their families react? King Felipe of Spain, known for his stoic nature, reportedly remained silent that evening, his expression unreadable. Queen Letizia, however, was seen glancing sharply toward her daughter, her posture tense. For her, Leonor's gesture was both a declaration of independence and a risk to the fragile balance Spain maintains between monarchy and democracy. On the Danish side, Crown Prince Frederick and Crown Princess Mary exchanged subtle looks. They, perhaps more than anyone else, understood the significance. Their own marriage began as a love story that defied expectations, a royal prince marrying an Australian commoner. Perhaps they recognized in Christian's gesture the same spirit of defiance that once burned in their own hearts. But France itself. France was torn. On one hand, the country that birthed the revolution does not always welcome displays of royal power. On the other hand, there is something undeniably captivating about young love defying barriers. Crowds that gathered outside the venue whispered with fascination, some even cheering when the story spread. Here is where the curiosity deepens. Did Leonor and Christian plan this? Was it a carefully calculated move to show Europe that their union is not just political, but deeply personal? Or was it a spontaneous eruption of feeling, too powerful to suppress? If it was planned, then we must ask, why now? Is their engagement closer than we think? Are Spain and Denmark preparing the stage for a union that could reshape the royal balance of Europe? If it was spontaneous, then the risk is even greater. Because one misstep in the public eye can tarnish decades of careful royal image building. And yet, they took it. Why? Because perhaps, for the first time, the weight of duty bowed before the force of love. Imagine being 19. Imagine carrying centuries of history on your shoulders. Imagine being told every day that your smile must not be too wide, your words not too free, your hands never too close to another's in public. And then imagine the one person who makes you feel human standing beside you in the spotlight. What would you do? Leonor and Christian's answer was clear. They chose to be real, even if just for a moment. The aftermath has been intense. Spanish newspapers have debated whether Leonor's gesture reflects strength or recklessness. Danish commentators celebrate Christian's courage, seeing in him the makings of a modern king. French outlets remain divided, but one thing is certain, the gesture has reignited Europe's fascination with royalty. And the people have chosen sides. Some accuse them of immaturity, of failing to understand the delicate role they must play. Others defend them fiercely, arguing that in a world where politics divide and institutions crumble, love should not be hidden, even by royals. The deeper truth is this: their gesture was not just about romance. It was about a new generation of monarchy. One that refuses to be chained by silence, one that seeks to prove that crowns and hearts can coexist. And so, the story continues. What began as a single moment in France has become a symbol. A symbol of hope, defiance, and the timeless truth that love, when real, cannot be contained. Will Leonor and Christian's path be smooth from here? Certainly not. The road ahead is lined with critics, tradition, and the heavy shadow of expectation. But on that night in France, they gave us a glimpse of what royalty can be: human, vulnerable, and unafraid to love. And that is why the entire nation of France, for once, put aside its doubts and watched in awe. Because sometimes, one gesture can change everything.